When you take a look at the numbers on Apple's website, the iPhone 13 Pro is rated to last up to 3 hours longer than the regular iPhone 13, despite the two phones having the same exact screen size at 6.1 inches, and the Pro model actually having the slightly smaller battery capacity at 3100 mAh compared to the regular 13's 3227. Of course, there is one big difference between the two, with the Pro model having that ProMotion display, which can not only ramp up to 120 Hz for smoother animations and scrolling, but it can also ramp itself all the way down to 10 Hz, depending on what's on screen, in order to save on battery life. Now, Apple's numbers are based on just straight video playback, where the iPhone 13 Pro's display benefits from being able to ramp down to 24 Hz compared to the regular 13's display being logged in at 60. But the thing is, nobody's out there watching only videos on their iPhones, so the question is, how big of a difference is there in a real-world battery test that takes into account things like phone calls, messaging, and standby? Well, let's find out. Alright, we'll start things off in the phone test, where each phone is going on the same 1-hour phone call. The phones are within equal distance of the mini cell tower we have installed in the lab, and there is constant audio playing back on the other end of the call to make sure that we're putting the earpieces to work, where after 1 hour, the iPhone 13 Pro takes the lead, dropping by just 1%, while the regular iPhone 13 drops by 3%, which is kind of the opposite of what I was expecting, given that the regular iPhone 13 has the bigger battery, and the screens weren't really a major factor there, but they will be here in the messaging test, where each phone is texting back and forth with our automated chatbot, where 1 hour later, the iPhone 13 Pro does better once again, pulling ahead by another percentage point as we work on the email test. Now, in that last test, the iPhone 13 Pro may have been more efficient due to it being able to ramp down its screen to a lower refresh rate, since all we were really doing was typing on the keyboard. But here in the email test, this time we're doing a little bit of scrolling, where in theory, the 13 Pro screen will ramp up to a higher refresh rate during that scrolling, which could drain its battery more. But 1 hour later, that little bit of scrolling didn't really seem to make all that much of a difference, with the iPhone 13 Pro still continuing to outperform, improving its total lead to 4 percentage points. But I don't know if that trend will continue here in the browser test, since this time the screen isn't the only major factor, with the A15 Bionic chip that's under the hood of both phones being put to work equally while cycling through the same set of websites, where the slightly bigger battery on the regular iPhone 13 should help it out a bit. And after an hour, well, that's exactly what we see, with the regular iPhone 13 doing 1 point better, pulling it back within 3 percentage points. We'll see what happens here in Instagram, where our robots are scrolling through the home feed just as you would in real life, where after an hour of doing so, both phones drop by an equal 7 percentage points. Meaning, as we head into the standby test, this is a lot closer than Apple's numbers would have you believe. And after 16 hours of standby, it only gets closer, with that bigger battery on the regular iPhone 13 helping it do slightly better, pulling it within just 2 percentage points of the iPhone 13 Pro. But this YouTube test is kind of the one I've been waiting for, since Apple's battery numbers are based off of continuous video playback, where the iPhone 13 Pro's display should technically be ramping down to as low as 24 Hz, while the regular iPhone 13's is stuck at 60 Hz, giving the Pro model the advantage. And after an hour, while the iPhone 13 Pro does do better, it's only by a single percentage point. So again, just not as big of a difference as I was expecting. I don't know if that'll change here in the gaming test, where each phone is playing Alto's Adventure, and no, after an hour, both phones drop by an equal 12 percentage points. And here in the maps test, well, it's the same exact story, with both phones dropping by an equal 10 percentage points. So while the display on the iPhone 13 Pro does seem to make it more efficient due to that variable refresh rate, when you're doing a mix of different things on the phones, the extra battery capacity on the regular iPhone 13 kinda makes up for the difference, with both phones dropping by an equal amount again after an hour in Spotify. But I think the bigger point here is the year-over-year improvements Apple made to both models. Last year, at this exact point, the iPhone 12 and the 12 Pro were both at just 2%, while the 13 here is at a healthy 12%, and the 13 Pro is even better than that at 15%. So a 10 and 13 point improvement respectively over last year's models, enough to last the iPhone 13 42 minutes in the intensive camera/Snapchat test, while the iPhone 13 Pro is at an estimated estimated 3%. So there you have it. The iPhone 13 Pro's battery is at 3% at the point at which the regular iPhone 13 died, allowing it to go on for just 9 more minutes in snapshot before its battery fully depleted as well, making the iPhone 13 Pro the winner in this battery test. But in my book, both phones easily get the win compared to last year's models. Anyways, that is it for me in this video. Thank you for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the very next episode.